In the high Andes of South America, an empire of staggering wealth and power was about to be brought to its knees by less than 200 men. The year was 1532, and the meeting of two worlds, one of bronze and gold, the other of iron and steel, would result in one of the most dramatic and decisive clashes in military history. The Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro, an illiterate former swineherd, led a tiny force of just 168 men into the heart of the Inca Empire, a civilization of over 10 million people. The Inca emperor, Atahualpa, had just won a bloody civil war against his brother and was resting with his massive army of over 80,000 soldiers at the city of Cajamarca. He was the absolute ruler of a vast territory stretching from modern-day Ecuador to Chile. He commanded an army of professionals, a network of roads and storehouses, and a treasury filled with unimaginable quantities of gold and silver. Pizarro, on the other hand, was a desperate adventurer. He had no logistics, no backup, and no authority from the Spanish crown beyond a vague promise of conquest. What he had was audacity. He understood the psychology of the situation. The Incas were unfamiliar with the Spanish weapons, particularly the arquebus and the crossbows, but more importantly, they had never seen a horse before. The Spanish cavalry, mounted on their massive war horses, would be a terror weapon that the Incas could not comprehend. Pizarro sent an embassy to Atahualpa, inviting him to a feast. The emperor, secure in his power, agreed. The meeting at Cajamarca was a trap. Pizarro had hidden his forces in the buildings surrounding the main square. When Atahualpa arrived, carried on a golden litter by his nobles, the Spanish sprang their ambush. The sound of gunfire and the sudden charge of the cavalry sent the Inca army into a panic. In the ensuing stampede, thousands of Incas were trampled to death by their own countrymen. The Spanish captured Atahualpa and held him for ransom. The emperor, believing that the Spanish were gods who wanted gold, offered to fill a room with gold and 2 rooms with silver in exchange for his freedom. The Spanish agreed. Over the next few months, the Incas stripped their temples and palaces, bringing a fortune in gold and silver to the Spanish. It was the greatest ransom in history. But Pizarro had no intention of keeping his word. He accused Atahualpa of plotting against him and had the emperor strangled to death. The Inca Empire, without its leader, collapsed into chaos and civil war. The Spanish took advantage of the disunity, allying with local tribes who were enemies of the Incas. Within a few years, the entire empire had fallen. The conquest of the Inca Empire was a brutal, ruthless, and astonishingly quick campaign that reshaped the history of the world. It was a classic case of technological superiority, but it was also a testament to the power of misinformation and psychological warfare. The Spanish had not won because they were braver. They won because they were more willing to lie, to cheat, and to kill. The fall of the Inca Empire was a tragedy for the native peoples, a genocide that destroyed a civilization and opened the door for the European colonization of the Americas.